Happy Vlogmas Day 11. Well, I've done it. I'm sick. For the first time in 4.5 years, I got a cold. I did not sleep well at all. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm congested. My throat's a little bit better, but I feel as though I have a bit of a fever. So much so that I just could not dry my hair after taking my shower this morning. It was just way too hot. So yeah, so I'm going to suffer through the workday. Thankfully, I'm working from home today. I'm really hoping I'm going to feel better tomorrow because I'm supposed to go downtown tomorrow. I have lunch plans with friends and dinner plans with friends. So I'm supposed to be downtown all day tomorrow. Obviously, if I'm not feeling better, I'm going to have to cancel all of those, and that would be so sad. So yeah, so I'm going to try to take her easy today and yeah, probably go to bed early tonight after I pick up my laptop. I'm excited. So we're going to do the Advent, and then I have a pre-recorded tutorial to make that Noel table runner. So I'm going to insert that at the end. And yeah, that'll be it for me in terms of recording today. All right, so day 11, a badge of honor to commemorate your efforts. Oh, come on now. There we go. Done, done, done. Love that. Oh, you're shaking because Bear is having a scratch right next to you. All right, so in terms of recording, you might not see my face again. Today's face again, because I'm going to insert the tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below, and I will speak to you tomorrow. All right, so to make our table runner, we're going to need 2 different fabrics. Well, or you can decide to go totally scrappy and pick 1 fabric for each of the letters. That would actually be really, really fun. But I had this cut of green fabric in my stash. I think I've had it for years. And I think it's going to make a very nice table runner with this dark gray fabric I'm going to use as my background. So all of my letters will be this green, and this will be the background. So Christmassy, but not over the top Christmassy. And I'm going to try and do some embroidery on mine, probably on the gray background in maybe white and red. So that'll make it a little more Christmassy. Anywho. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this tutorial letter by letter. So I'm going to cut my fabrics for the letter N and then show you how to piece the letter and then move on to each letter that way, just to make it super simple. And then I'll show you how to assemble your table runner, and then you can decide how you want to quilt it, how you want to bind it. I can link to some of my videos down in the description for binding, or you can go through my quilting playlist here on the channel where I have several tutorials for different types of quilting design, both free motion and with the walking foot. So I'll leave the finishing up to you, but we will piece the whole table runner together. So I'm going to go off and cut my fabric for the letter N. Again, the cutting instructions are all going to be in the description box of this video, so refer to those before you cut your fabric. All right, I'll be back in a second. So we're going to piece the middle of our N. So this is all my pieces. So here's how this is going to work. This is going to be one of the legs of our N, and that's going to be another leg. So we just got to piece the cross section here. And how we're going to do this is we're going to put a green stripe in the middle of 2 background stripes, we are going to piece one square to a gray background piece on the diagonal here, and then we're gonna flip it like this. Or actually, we're gonna flip it like this. There we go. So we're gonna stitch from corner here to corner here and then flip. Then we're gonna take our two background squares, stitch one to the right, going on the diagonal like this. So our triangle is gonna go this way. And then take a second one and piece it here and go from corner to corner here and flip this backwards. So what we're going to be left with basically is a strip of green in the middle like this. And then finally, we're going to take our last green square and stitch it to the right of our bottom gray square and flip it this way. All right, so hopefully this makes sense. You have your 3 strips to make the middle of your letter. You're going to make the first one corner to corner this way, and then flip it like this. Then you're going to piece 2 squares to your middle strip like this and press them like this. And then last, you're going to attach a colored square to your background square like this and press it in that direction. All right, so go to your sewing machine and pressing station and get all of that done. Don't trim the extra fabric just yet. Just sew and press your squares that way, and then we'll come back here. So here are my pieces. Now I've gone ahead and trimmed all of the extra fabric to reduce the bulk here. So what you do is just take a pair of scissors, flip your top triangle, and then trim the fabric here, leaving about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, now we're positioning our 3 pieces like this, and then at the bottom you're going to have a 4.5 inch square, and then we're going to piece each of these pieces together and then add the 2 legs to our N. Now, when you're piecing the pieces together here, you'll notice that we've got a jog here. So you've got to be careful when you're putting these right sides together that you're pinning them in such a way that at a 1/4 inch is where the 2 pieces will meet. So about like this. So if I go and I put a pin right on the seam line, a 1/4 inch away from the raw edges, and put my pin in there, and then lift this here, I can see that I'm going to have a very nice continuous line here. So pin your pieces together. Try not to eyeball them if you want a nice clean line running through this entire column. So piece or pin your pieces like this, and then be as precise as you can be with your 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then do this for every piece in the column, and then come back here. Here you go. I've got my column all nice and sewn together, and press. You can press those seam allowances up or down or open, up to you, whatever is easiest. And now we're going to attach our side borders here and finish off our letter N. So go to your sewing machine, sew to a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance or 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then our N will be done. Here we go. Here's our N. Now it looks a little bit funny like that, but once you've got all your background fabric around this, it's going to look very nice. So now that we're done with N, go to your fabric and get cutting on the O, and then we'll come back here and piece the letter O. Next, we're going to work on our letter O, and this one is super simple. We're going to start with the middle this time. So we're going to take a 4.5 by 6.5 rectangle and put two pieces that are 2.5 by 6.5, and we're going to sew those together. Second step is you're going to take the 8.5 by 2.5 pieces of colored print or colored fabric, and you are going to place a 2.5 square on the end of each one. Then you are going to sew on the diagonal from one corner to corner, one corner to the next corner, corner to corner, corner to corner, and then flip the triangles over, trim the excess fabric, just like we did for our previous letter. And you're going to do this on all 4 corners. And then once you've done that, come back here with your pieces all sewn and pressed, and we're going to be ready to assemble our O. So here's my middle piece, and here are my 2 strips with the corners. I'm now going to go behind each corner and trim off the extra layers of fabric, leaving about a 1/4 inch. Like so. Again, you don't need to be super precise here, as long as you leave about a 1/4 inch. There we go. All right. And next, we're simply going to arrange this with a top green band at the top, our middle piece like this, and then a bottom piece like this. And then look at that, we've got an O. So go ahead and sew your 3 rows together and press, and you will be done with the O. Here's the letter E. So all of the pieces cut and laid out how they're going to get sewn. So again, go to the description box for all of the cutting instructions. But basically, you're going to have 2 2.5 by 8.5 pieces, and those go at the top and bottom. And this is your print fabric. You're going to have 1 piece that is 2.5 by 6.5 in your print. 1 piece that's the same, so 2.5 by 6.5 in your background. You're going to have 2 pieces that are 2.5 by, no, I'm lying to you. This is 4.5 by 2 3/4. And then one that's 4.5 by 2 inches for the middle little leg of your E. So the first step here is to sew the middle of the letter. So the 2 background rectangles with the print rectangle. So we're going to sew these 3 together, press them, and then come back here. Okay, so we've got the middle all pieced. Next, you're going to put the 2 sides. So 1 green here on the left, or 1 print on the left, and then your background on the right. And then press towards your new border. Once you've done that, sew the top and bottom to the middle, and then you'll be done with the letter E. So go ahead and do that. Finish the middle, put your 2 top and bottom borders, and meet me back here. E all done. So now we've got, let me get this out of the way. We've got our N, our O, our E, and only the L is left. We are going to put a piece of sashing between each letter to give them room to breathe a little bit. But yeah, we're almost there, people. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the fabrics I'm going to need for my letter L. You do the same, because the instructions are going to be down in the description box. So meet me back here with all of your pieces cut and ready to sew. All right, this one is crazy simple. You've got 8.5 by 10.5 piece of your print fabric, 2.5 by 4.5 piece of your print fabric, and then 4.5 by 8.5 piece of your background fabric. 2 steps to this one. First step, piece these two together like this. And then once you've pressed this, attach the long piece to the whole thing, and you are done. So go and do that. One seam here, one seam here, press everything flat, and meet me back here. So we've got our 4 letters. So now we've spelled Noel, but squeezed in like this, it doesn't look very nice. It's very hard to read the word. So we need some breathing space between each letter. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your background fabric and you're going to cut strips that are 1.5 by 10.5, and we are going to sew those between each letter. So this is 2.5, but I'm going to cut this down to 1.5 and then cut it to 10.5 long, and we're going to piece that in between each letter. So you're going to need 1, 2, 3 pieces of 1.5 by 10.5 in your background fabric. Then at the ends, we're going to put some background blocks. Basically, I'm going to do embroidery in mine just to kind of add decorations. Again, everything's in the description down below. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 10.5 by 6.5 to add to each end of my table runner. And then we're going to measure our table runner and cut 2 pieces that we're going to add to the top and bottom of it, again, in our background fabric. And yeah, then the whole thing is going to be assembled. So go ahead and do that. First, start with your 1.5 by 10.5 inch pieces to go in between your letters. So you're going to need 3 of those to put in between your letters. And then meet me back here when you've done that. Here is my runner. It's too long, so I added a piece at the beginning. So this is 6.5 inch wide by 10.5, and I added some embroidery and pieced that at the start. And I did the exact same thing at the end. You can see that there's some rippling there, but hopefully the quilting is going to take care of that. Now the final step to piecing the top is to measure how long this is. Mine is 44 inches. So I've got a very long piece of 2.5 inch strips. So I pieced together a couple of pieces to make it to fit both the top and the bottom. So make yourself a super long piece of 2.5 inch strip and piece half of it to the top, half of it to the bottom, and your basically little quilt top is going to be all done. And then once you've done that, you can decide what you want to turn this into. You can add more fabric, more borders to make it even bigger, and then just quilt it. Add a piece of backing fabric, quilt it, add some binding, and you've got a really nice table runner for Christmas. So hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial, and we'll make a runner for yourself or as a gift. And yeah, let me know in the comments, as always, if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.